Ναι. Έλα,
Δεν ξέρω, τσακωθήκαμε με τον άλλον. Το δράκο.
Πες να ησυχάσει ρε. Πες να ησυχάσει. Περίμενε, περίμενε. Τάσο.
Τάσο.
Πλάνος. Πώς είστε τώρα? Το έχω κάνει, έχω βάλει στην ανάγκη ένα. Πώς είναι?
Ένα, δύο, τρία, τέσσερα, πέντε, έξι, επτά, οχτώ, εννιά, δέκα. Ένα, δύο, τρία, τέσσερα, πέντε, έξι, επτά, οχτώ, εννιά, δέκα. Ένα, δύο, τρία, τέσσερα, πέντε, έξι, επτά, οχτώ, εννιά, δέκα.
Κότα είσαι εσύ.
Κωστά, με ωραία σύρσα, δεν είναι?
Νίκος.
όλα από αυτή την διαφαίνεται, καθώς όλα τα στοιχεία συνηγορούν ότι οι νεκροί από αυτό το ναυάγιο θα ανέλθουν σε εκατοντάδες. Σύμφωνα λοιπόν με τα αποκαλούμενα, ο Αλφα.
Έλα, αρχίσουμε στο λόγο. Κλείσε λίγο zoom. Ναι. Θέλετε να είμαι στο τηλέφωνο. Ναι. Εγώ είμαι εξηγητής πετράς, είμαι εδώ, όχι από την πρώτη στιγμή. Συντονίσαμε 15 ασθενοφόρα με 40 διασώστες και θα περιγράψω εικόνες που είδα. Ωραία. Θα περιγράψω. Λίγο ακόμα, κλείσε λίγο ακόμα. Την αβενία. Κλείσε λίγο ακόμα, Τάσο. Και σαφώς καταβεβλημένοι οι άνθρωποι που παρακολουθούν. Οκ. Λήψη. Ωραία, ωραία, ωραία. Ωραία.
Να σου πω κάτι. Κοίταξε φωτογραφία το πανίξι.
Ωραία.
Έχω να φωτιστεί με type-C. Φωτιστή τηλεφώνου. Σε ένα μαύρο με μαύρο καλώδιο.
Μπρίζα θέλεις.
Έχω μπρίζα. Το φορτιστή δεν βρίσκω. Το φορτιστή μέρα φορτιστή. Να πάω από κάτι.
Ακριβώς, και η επιχείρηση έρευνας και διάσωσης θα συνεχιστεί μέχρι να πέσει το φως, προκειμένου να εντοπιστούν και άλλοι άνθρωποι που ίσως να είναι ζωντανοί και να παλεύουν με τα κύματα στα ανοιχτά της πύλου. Οι 104 διασωτέντες που έφτασαν εδώ στο λιμάνι της Καλαμάτας φιλοξενούνται προσωρινά στο χώρο το οποίο βλέπετε πίσω μου. Είναι οι αποθήκες του λιμανιού της Καλαμάτας, οι οποίες έχουν διαμορφωθεί κατάλληλα. Εδώ βρίσκονται οι διασωθέντες οι οποίοι έχουν μεταφερθεί και προσπαθούν οι τοπικές αρχές να τους παράσουν ό,τι χρειάζονται προκειμένου να μπορέσουν να τους βοηθήσουν. Επίσης, αυτή τη στιγμή βρίσκονται στο νοσοκομείο της Καλαμάτας 24 άτομα τα οποία νοσηλεύονται. 7 εξ αυτών είναι σε λίγο πιο σοβαρή κατάσταση, χωρίς ωστόσο αυτό να σημαίνει ότι κινδυνεύει η ζωή τους. Δυστυχώς όμως, όσο περνούν οι ώρες, φαίνεται ότι θα βρεθούν κάποιοι άνθρωποι ζωντανοί από το ναυάγιο. Είναι χαρακτηριστικό ότι από το πρωί, από όταν ήρθαν οι 104 διασωθέντες με το μέγα γιότ το οποίο τους συνέλεξε, δεν έχει έρθει άλλο σκάφος εδώ στο λιμάνι της Καλαμάτας που να έχει σχέση με το συγκεκριμένο ναυάγιο. Όλα τα σκάφη, τα πρωτότυπα στα ανοιχτά και επιχειρούν, όπως επίσης και τα παραπλέοντα σκάφη συγκεντρώνονται τους ορούς των θυμάτων και περιμένουμε να δούμε αν θα έρθουν στη συνέχεια εδώ στο λιμάνι της Καλαμάτας για να διακομψούσεις, για να πάρουν για να γίνει η ταυτοποίηση και η αναγνώρισή τους. Να σας πω επίσης ότι σε λίγη ώρα αναμένεται να βρεθεί εδώ στο λιμάνι της Καλαμάτας και ο Γενικός Γραμματέας του Κομμουνιστικού Κόμματος Ελλάδος, ο κύριος Κουτσούμπας, ενώ ήδη βρίσκονται στην περιοχή και στελέχη των υπόλοιπων κομμάτων, ενώ σε φτάδες αναμένεται να βρεθεί στην Καλαμάτα, και ο κύριος Βαγγέλης από την πλευρά της Νέας Δημοκρατίας. Πάντως το βράδυ θα είναι δύσκολο για τους ανθρώπους αυτούς οι οποίοι βρίσκονται εδώ στην αποθήκη του λιμανιού της Καλαμάτας, καθώς κανείς δεν ξέρει τι θα ξημερώσει. Αυτό το οποίο ζητούν όλοι είναι να τους παρασχεθούν οι πρώτες βοήθειες, οτιδήποτε χρειάζονται οι άνθρωποι αυτοί προκειμένου να ανακουφιστεί ο πόνος τους, οι οποίοι βρέθηκαν εδώ στην Καλαμάτα, ενώ το ταξίδι τους ήταν αρχικά για την Ιταλία και όχι για την χώρα μας.
Θέλει να κάνουμε ένα πιο ακόμα. Είσαι από Κασίδα. Πάνω!
Απαγορεύεται μέσα, γιατί δεν μπορώ να το πω. Μην παίρνετε τσάμπα, δεν επιτρέπεται. Δεν επιτρέπεται. Τώρα μην γινόμαστε κακοί τελευταία ώρα.
Όχι, κάμερα. Την ακούω. Δώσε μου, σε ένα λεπτό δώσε μου. Να δω ποιος έχει έρθει, κάτσε να κάνω λίγο ρεπορτάζ. Ωραία, ένα λεπτό δώσε μου και πάρε με. Πάρε με πάλι. Σε ένα λεπτό πάρε με το πολύ, εντάξει. Η εικόνα βλέπεις νομίζω. Είσαι ανοιχτό. Ήλινο ήταν.
Αλέξανδρε, το τρίποδο.
But I don't know who. Somebody to talk, but I don't know who.
Με τα παιδιά αυτά με τους νεολαίους αυτούς οι οποίοι όπως μας δήλωσαν, γιατί τους πλησιάσαμε στη συνέχεια και τους ρωτήσαμε σχετικά, μας είπαν ότι προέρχονται από την...
Γεια σας, τι κάνετε?
Είναι για 30 άτομα, εσώρουχα και παντόφλες καινούργιες.
Να είστε καλά.
Αν θέλεις κι άλλα, ενημέρωσε να στείλουμε, μου είπαν να πετάξω. Γιατί το μάθαμε εκτάκτως τώρα και λείπαμε.
Αυτά
είναι καινούργια.
Είναι παιδικά.
Είναι από 38 μέχρι 43.
Εντάξει.
Ό,τι θέλεις επικοινωνήστε κάτω να στείλουμε και...
Εσώρουχα και παντόφλες, αυτό θέλουμε.
Είναι καινούργια, για 35 άτομα.
Να είστε καλά, ευχαριστούμε. Για το πώς
Μάθαμε και μια βλάβη με το...
τελευταίο κι εγώ.
Εντάξει, τέλειωσε. Βρήκα και μια άλλη κυρία από εκεί που ρωτούσε κάτι για σεντόνια. Με ενδιαφέρει. Θέλω να το δώσω. Να μάθει ο κόσμο του εστίου. Έτσι.
Το πετσίνο.
Ο Γιάννης είναι, να δείτε μετά όταν τελειώσουμε, να το κάνετε και φίλο. Εγώ του είπα, ναι, άμα μια τσίπρα θέλω λίγο να το κάνω φίλο. Θα στηθούμε εδώ, επειδή θα βγουν εδώ τα παιδιά.
Εγώ το είπα στην κυρία.
Γιατί να πλακώσουν, μια χαρά, ο καθένας έχει λάβει τα θέσεις.
Αλλά έχω και πολύ καλά έκανε.
Πάρα πολλά χρόνια. Έτσι, πολλά χρόνια. Φταίνε όλα τα κανάλια της δεν βάθαψε.
Τώρα γιατί καθόμαστε σε καλά. Και εμείς δεν παιδιά.
Και εν πάση
γνωρίζει ότι ο Μπέτσας που πάει να πει θα δούμε τα αποτελέσματα αυτά εδώ που γίνανε.
όχι, ήταν μια επιχείρηση των 500 εργαζόμενων και πηγαίνανε να τους αποκτήσουν.
Ποιος
Πέτρο, συζητάνε από το μάστερ. Έλα λίγο να μιλήσουμε.
κοιτάτε ρε
Κάτσε βρε Πέτρο.
Το πιστεύετε αυτό το πράγμα.
Έλα Αντρέα μου.
Γιατί όπως μπορείτε να δείτε είναι αρκετά
γιατί παίρνει από την δεξαμενή καλά από εκεί. Από πού θα πάρει.
Παίρνει και από το κομμάτι, η νέα του.
Βεβαίως.
Τι για λατζί κομμουνιστές είναι αυτοί.
Λίγο. Εδώ μπορεί να φαίνεται ότι είναι συντηρητική.
Άμα δεν θα την ανοίξουμε όλη την κουβέντα.
Και ακόμα. Και άπλωσε η Μόσχα. Λοιπόν, υπάρχουν δεδομένα πολύ που έρχονται σε μια για μικροεξυπηρετήσεις. Έχω περίπτωση, όχι που εγώ απάντησα σε αυτό που είπες.
Σε αυτό που είπες,
ότι η δεξαμενή δεν είναι όπως είναι. Από τη Λίμνο στη Στεριά. Εκεί στηρίστηκε ότι
να μου
η
Νέα Δημοκρατία 42 σπίτια, βίλες και τέτοια, πόσα χρωστάνε, 400 εκατομμύρια, όλοι. Τα κλεψέ, τα κλεψέ. Ποιος έχει δουλέψει ποτέ του, που λέει ότι είναι να λέει πρόσφυγας, 6 λέει μηνών, είναι να λέει πολιτικός. Πολιτικός, πώς το λένε, πρόσφυγας. Ήταν πρόσφυγας.
Κάνε λίγο πιο αριστερά, κάτω λίγο πιο αριστερά.
Όχι να με εκτοπίσετε, τον άρμα να βλέπω ότι το δω τώρα. Δεν με εκτοπίζετε.
Λίγο. Παιδιά, μην μιλάμε λίγο. Μην μιλάμε λίγο.
Εγώ σε ενοχλώ που βάζω το κεφάλι μου έτσι.
Η Αγρίνη είναι εδώ μου είπα.
Άντε, σας έχετε σπάσει τα νεύρα.
Εγώ θα δουλεύω σίγουρα.
Όλοι δουλεύουν για μια δημοκρατία, μας ταΐζουν. Όλοι, μας ταΐζουν. Είναι ανάποδο. Δεν βγαίνει. Έχουμε περάσει και από αυτά τα κανάλια. Να ξέρεις ότι δεν μιλάς ανθρώπους. Έχουμε περάσει από αυτό. Έχουμε φάει την ιδεολογία και ιδιαίτερα έφυγε ο Καρύλας. Και μετά να σου λένε ότι δεν συνεργαζόμαστε και κάνουμε το σωσμό της αριστεράς. Και να είσαι μέσα. Στο κουέ. Ας, θα μου πεις εμένα ότι είναι μάθημα της δεξιάς. Έχεις δει ποτέ να χτυπάει τη δεξιά, όλο αυτό το ΣΥΡΙΖΑ. Μόνο τα 20 άνθρωποι μας έρχονται μόνο. Είναι στο γενή. Ποιος ο πρόσωπο είναι τώρα. Ο Κουτσούμπας ήρθε. Είδατε ρε παιδί, τι είδες ποιος ήρθε.
Εγώ σου λέω μέσα στα πολλά.
Να μην τσακωθούμε.
Λίγο πιο πίσω.
Παιδιά, είναι κόντρα ο ήλιος όμως, δεν είναι.
Είναι κόντρα ο ήλιος, γιατί δεν το βάζουμε εδώ πέρα.
Έρθει από εδώ, την
Ναι, και δεν είναι. Το κάνουμε που το κάνουμε να φαίνεται τουλάχιστον η προκοπή. Εκεί που θα φαίνεται από πίσω.
Μισό λεπτό, να μην τη χάσουν κι άλλοι συνάδελφοι.
Δεν προχώρησε καλή.
Γιατί μην πας λίγο δεξιά όμως.
Όλοι.
Παιδιά, μισό λεπτάκι. Ακούστε με λίγο. Πάμε λίγο πίσω όλοι. Πάλι πίσω, πάμε πίσω όλοι. Πάμε πίσω. Όλοι πίσω.
Καθίστε όλοι σε μια σειρά ρε παιδιά. Ανοιχτείτε λίγο τόσο χώρο.
Συγγνώμη.
Δώστε μου κι άλλο. Πόσα. Εντάξει.
Έλα, μπορείς.
Έλα, πάμε. Μπορώ.
Θα το κάνω.
Μισό λεπτάκι παρακαλώ. Παιδιά, είμαστε έτοιμοι.
Πόνο ένα μικρόφωνο.
Πού είναι το στάρ το μικρό?
Λίγο κάτω τα μικρόφωνα, παιδιά.
Το κινητό λίγο πίσω. Το κινητό λίγο πίσω.
Τι θέλω.
Πάμε.
Δυστυχώς πρόκειται πραγματικά για μια ανίποτη τραγωδία. Το νέο πολύ νεκρό ναυάγιο έξω από την Πύλο ήρθε να προσθεθεί σήμερα με τους δεκάδες νεκρούς και με τους εκατοντάδες δυστυχώς αγνοούμενους από ό,τι ενημερωθήκαμε, σε όλα αυτά τα ναυάγια και στους νεκρούς συνανθρώπους μας που θρηνούμε χρόνια τώρα στη Μεσόγειο, στο Αιγαίο και δυστυχώς σε μια τραγωδία που δεν έχει τελειωμό. Βρισκόμαστε σήμερα εδώ και μάλιστα σε μέρες κατά τις οποίες συζητιέται και επιταχύνονται οι διαδικασίες για την αλλαγή του Συμφώνου της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης για τους πρόσφυγες και το άσυλο, που θα σημάνει και τον οριστικό ενταφιασμό της συνθήκης της Γενέβης για τους πρόσφυγες, με ανίποτες συνέπειες, με ένταση της καταστολής και βέβαια με άνοιγμα της όρεξης παραπέρα των εγκληματικών κυκλωμάτων διακινητών που φέρνουν τους ξενιτεμένους σε αυτούς τους υγρούς τάφους για να χάνουν τις ζωές τους στα γυναικόπαιδα. Εμείς θεωρούμε ότι ο ελληνικός λαός, με την ευαισθησία που έχει, η ελληνική νεολαία με την αλληλεγγύη που έχει επιδείξει όλα αυτά τα χρόνια, δεν θα πρέπει να νιώθει κανονικότητα με αυτό το συνεχιζόμενο έγκλημα στις θάλασσες του Αιγαίου και της Μεσογείου. Θα πρέπει να δυναμώσει η πάλη όλων μας για να σταματήσουν οι άδικοι, οι ιμπεριαλιστικοί πόλεμοι, να σταματήσουν οι εισβολές και οι κατοχές κρατών, να σταματήσει όλο αυτό το όργιο των πολιτικών διώξεων, της φτώχειας και της πείνας που οδηγεί τους ανθρώπους να ξενιτεύονται για να βρουν μια καλύτερη μοίρα και να καταλήγουν στον υγρό τάφο της Μεσογείου. Το σύνθημα «Τα κέρδη τους ή οι ζωές μας» είναι επίκαιρο όσο ποτέ και εμείς απαντάμε ξεκάθαρα. Εμείς είμαστε με τις ζωές των ανθρώπων. Ευχαριστώ.
Παιδιά, μόνο οι κάμερες να μην μπουν μέσα, έτσι.
Δεν θα πω μέσα. Όχι, δεν θα υπάρχει κάμερα και δεν θα υπάρχουν φωτογραφίες. Και δεν θα μπω ούτε εγώ μέσα.
Όχι, εσείς μπορείτε, θέλουν να κουβεντιάσουν. Προς Θεού.
Για κάμερες όλοι.
Μην κάνετε εδώ, μην βάλετε, μην παίρνετε πλάνα.
Μην παίρνετε πλάνα.
Οι δημοσιογράφοι λίγο έξω, σας παρακαλώ. Πάμε, παιδιά, πίσω. Ναι, κύριε.
Πάμε, παιδιά.
Πουλάει.
Να μην πουλάει.
Είπαμε κάτι. Του φέρεσαι καλύτερα όμως, όπα. Όπα, δεν κατάλαβα. Τι ύφος είναι αυτό, τι είναι. Τραμπούκος, δεν κατάλαβα. Κι εγώ. Πάρας έτσι, κάτσε. Γιατί το πατάς έτσι, πες το δικαίωμα.
Δεν υπάρχει λόγος.
Σε παρακαλώ πάρα πολύ. Σε παρακαλώ. Έλα λίγο.
Where's your...
Νομίζω ότι πρέπει να είναι... Εσείς να είστε.
Θα το φτιάξουμε σαν σκηνή.
Είπανε 750. 750.
Έτσι είπανε δύο. Η Μαρία 750. Έτσι είπανε αυτά.
Μας πείτε στα αγγλικά την ιδιότητά σας και το όνομά σας, λίγο που κάτω. Best, τι και από εκεί.
I'm Athena Linos.
Πάμε.
I'm Athena Linos. I'm a candidate for the Greek Parliament with Syriza, but I also am a professor of public health in the Athens Medical School.
Τώρα είμαστε εδώ με το μάγκη. Θέλω οδοντόβουτσες. Έχω οδοντόκρεμες, δεν έχω οδοντόβουτσες. Απλά επειδή έχω τις οδοντόκρεμες μέσα και είναι σκέτες. Δεν ξέρω ποιος τις εκφέρει, γιατί είμαι έξω για παραλαβή εγώ. Μέσα τα κυβότια είναι. Δείτε το μόνο λίγο για να το ρυθμίσουμε τώρα που μπορούμε να το τακτοποιήσουμε. Ωραία. Δεν σας έχω ξεχάσει. Αν μπορώ κάτι... Δεχόμαστε αρκετά ιδίως όταν είναι καλοκαιρία. Λόγω και της γεωγραφικής θέσης τα αντιλαμβάνουμε στις περιοχές μας. Πάντα ο κόσμος έρχεται από και βοηθάει. Έτσι απλά πάντα να αντιλαμβανόμαστε και τα ζητήματα, τα διοικητικά, τα εγκληματολογικά και η ανταπόκριση να είναι αντίστοιχη των ζητημάτων που προκύπτουν. Από το μεσημεράκι και μετά. Από το μεσημεράκι κατάλαβε το μέγεθος.
Ελάτε λίγο αριστερά-δεξιά, παρακαλώ. Ελάτε λίγο αριστερά-δεξιά. Ευχαριστώ πολύ.
Δεν ήταν δηλαδή κάτι πρωτόγνωρο. Απλά για εσάς είναι πρωτόγνωρο. Εννοώ ότι εμείς τέλος Οκτώβρη, ας πούμε, είχαμε 180 άτομα εδώ πέρα πάλι. Όταν υπάρχει καλοκαίρι. Ναι, πάντα εδώ. Τέλος Οκτωβρίου, ναι. Πάντα, εμείς έχουμε, για μας δεν είναι κάτι πρωτόγνωρο αυτό. Απλά τώρα έχει, λόγω του ότι υπήρχαν τόσα πολλά άτομα και θεωρήθηκε ότι θα βγουν ζωντανά. Αυτό ήταν το ζήτημα. Πρώτη κινητοποίηση. Μακάρι να ήταν, συγγνώμη. Από εδώ. Συγγνώμη.
Yes, please show something.
Το πρώτο ερώτημα είναι τα κομμάτια αυτά. Εμείς σκέφτομαι το κλιμάκιο που ήρθε το παράδειγμα την πρώτη και ακούω ότι υπάρχει ένα δύο, άρα δεν πιώνεται όμως. Είναι τα πολύ, δομοτονίες, αναφοριστικά, πυρήνα, ναι, δεν πιώνεται. Τώρα η καινούργια που κάνουμε θα δούμε.
Γιατί μην τρελαθούμε στο τέλος μετά.
Όχι, λεπτά, δεν έχω δει καθόλου. Τώρα είχα πάει εσά ώρα σε ένα ραντεβού για μια δουλειά και τώρα είχα πάρει στο λιμάνι να φέρω κάτι παπούτσια.
Το γραμματέα των νοσοκομιακών ιατρών. Ήρθε να πάρω τηλέφωνο. Το γραμματέα των νοσοκομιακών ιατρών. Ήρθε να πάρω τηλέφωνο.
Ναι, aquí. Aquí está el otro caballo. No, George. Yes. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. Okay, hello. Yes, just been trying to leave the things in the house. Okay, bye.
So, we're just going to be right here. Okay. All back here. Again, if someone, a photographer in particular, has to get by you, take a photograph, obviously, you can't prove for them. You are free to get a camera, take pictures, take video, do all that. Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. That's right. That's right. That would throw it up for a loop. Yeah.
What is your process for coming up with questions? Ahead of time, or is it just kind of the person?
So, on days in which my outlets, my television, is a seat those are odd days. So we split a seat with another news organization. So our assigned seat is right where this one is right here. And that means the likelihood of me getting called upon in the first 10 minutes of the briefing are like 1%. 1%. So as a result, what I do is I have a list of questions, and generally that list, by the time it comes down to me, I can cross out every question because they've already been asked some form or another. Hey, Mr. Professional, how you doing? Congratulations. Good to see you. So I have a list of questions, like every question, and I'll cross off each question as a variation of questions. What I do is I listen to a very good listeners or principles, and if there's something that I hear in terms of what the White House press secretary has said in the course of the briefing that I want to follow up on, that's what my questions are. Because what you'll find is the White House press secretary for the first half hour, everything sticks to the first two rows, maybe even the first three rows. And there are days in which that shows further out to the center. So it might sound like you are at a concert, right? He says, how is it the seventh row? The seventh row here, it is awesome, don't get me wrong. But the seventh row here, and there's a lot of difference between the seventh row and the sixth row. Okay? Any question? Getting called. Yeah.
Based on the briefing, even then, are you writing kind of like what you're about your plans or do you?
So I've already prepared, regardless of what happens, I've already prepared my live shot focus for the day. I've done that. That will be before the session.
Hey! My computer. Oh, you did? I know, I was really like, that's why I was like, oh god. No, my colleague was I left my computer charger yesterday and my computer's dead. And I was just like, I thought I could start, no. I mean, I have one at home, but that's not gonna help me. I only have one, so if I do that, I'm done. Oh, I have two. I'm not.
I think that's what President
Including the one that was like, we should take care of the worst. It was like, comfort, we should get the picture. It was just this is like, this is literally the exact same conversation.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, press, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing podium, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You let 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, only one. Huh?
It sounds like there's another mic on. Oh. Okay. It is the.
So I can tell you with a fair bit of confidence right, it says, I mean, like, if there's there might be like a 25.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the only mic open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
No problem.
But like, yeah, I like, to be perfectly honest, like, the money has been spent. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't have the exact numbers, but like, in broad strokes, in broad strokes, I can like, plan it like, bye bye.
You go out and enjoy the nice spot.
I am going to enjoy very nice. Walk back to my office because you don't have an office.
Right. Right.
So now I'm going to enjoy it. Well, catch up.
How are you? Come around a second.
Okay, we can back up to the briefing because
Did I give you the figures for
I don't remember what I had last. Probably. We did a thing on 6 + 2. Yeah. Europe one.
Yeah.
Hey, what's that?
You did? Well, I've got some stuff on here.
You just said
I'm exhausted.
Dude, congrats on your wedding.
I mean, what I do doesn't really matter, but yes.
much. Pushing through. Usual. This weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
Getting from
Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's going on people's teams.
Like the BBC page. Yeah.
Trying to show.
It was raining at the beginning.
It has its moments. More so than yeah, this will be something. Feels like
we're going to continue that conversation. They can do whatever they want. So we're trying to. Yes, I mean I think you should try to apply that. But and I think you need to really clear with them. I don't know if you do any like freelance other work outside of your yeah, I know. So I mean I think like explaining that to them would be helpful. I know that they
oh yeah. That was so fun. You have to demonstrate.
Yeah, I would encourage that. And really explain that. Oh yeah, and I think they asked for
Only in
writing
early
samples.
summer, so we're not here in August, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Which like
I wish that I had. Yeah.
Suddenly like
Which is very soon. Yeah.
well they were calling like
Yes, but Kelly O'Donnell will be the next president. And we're like, we're actively working on I would hurry after. Okay, good. Okay. And you have a hill pass. You have a hill badge? Yeah.
When I was yesterday, we were on the hill.
Right. Well, then you should be set.
I met with Senator Whitehouse. We did tour of the Capitol.
Well, yeah, but great. Uh-oh. So you should be fine. The last I had heard, they had about. Yeah, we submitted.
40 minutes.
Yeah, and everything's in process. I haven't seen
Normally we're getting
indications of problems. Yeah, absolutely. Let me know if you run into trouble before July 15th. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
no problem. It's all right. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Did you succeed? So it's this thing, request for travel.com, account should be directed to White House Travel Office. Yeah, I think you're supposed to. What is your email? So I think that you're directed to that address. And just re-up it. They've had some so I don't know when you
I did for a bit. Yeah, late.
Yeah.
That's the point. I should have.
Oh, like,
Yeah. That's the point. I should have had a great time.
Yeah.
But I had to get up somewhere. Wait, Friday. I'm going unilateral. Saturday. I'll be there.
Try this, you know, and then one tomorrow. Right here.
The airline.
It's cute. No, it's never.
Well, if you're on it,
It's cute. I know, right? It was raining this morning.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, you went there like
But you're staying on.
Yeah. Hi. Hey, how are you?
Awesome. Yeah, you get probably more space to create.
No, you two darling.
There's a certain
I can make any place in the office.
Here he is. As I love to say, this job is no. Oh, yeah, exactly. Oh, Alex is way back. Yeah. I am, but I'm off the air at 7:30, so I will come after that. Just save some time. And I can actually, and I'm not working for you guys, which is really nice, but so I can actually stay.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. I don't have to get up at 2:45 for work.
Oh gosh, that must be difficult. Do you get used to it?
You know, you actually do. The hard part is once you get used to it, you switch your like tonight.
Yeah.
So it's these dark circles under the wheel.
Oh, no, I don't know. I was talking about next month.
I did 2 in a row going, oh yes, this is Oh, yes, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It was perfect with her because she gets to take her to the train station. And I felt fantastic. It's now 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We should take the catches up with you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I feel
Yeah,
you got
it is.
that.
Over a mile a day.
I can't promise that it'll be a favorite place. I don't even know what favorite will be.
Yeah, right. Oh, really? Yeah. They just brought them. Get them pretty recently. Yeah, I got them. I saw that they brought them back like a month ago. Yeah, they were like that because of all the good ones. Yeah.
When he's going, he does those.
I know, right? They just kind of look like the school. Exactly. Yeah, I guess they're like old basketball. Yeah, that's what they say, but I'm not. I was like shocked about it. Well, they were, I guess. Yeah.
I didn't hear it.
See that? It was awesome. Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, I'm from yeah. I mean, there you go. But, you know, whether they took some liberty was, they did. From the other side, I'm pretty sure. I saw that there were people like,
They were like testing this reporters doing it.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a Zoom recording.
I kind of expect yeah.
I don't remember, I only remember once when it actually was, and I remember many times when it wasn't. But it was okay, well, yes. I found it deeply distracting, and then I was like, who is this?
I'm actually a Lakers fan.
I feel like so when I feel like I can write the term paper on it, and people ask me that question, you explain to me, like,
you've already heard people ask me. You've heard the answer too. The reason I asked, so we were just talking about basketball, and he's yeah, it makes perfect sense. You could claim, well, I mean, Lakers are you could claim the trade, you could in high school for your first day. But you grew up well after those 80s too, so yes, 100%. Yeah.
Are you from LA?
I'm from Cambridge, Mass. You grew up during the Great team. Yes. I did. Yeah, Antoine Walker. Where Larry Bird who's retired. Really, the reason is I was brainwashed on my grandma.
Yeah.
It was like LA, I think a big Lakers fan. So that is my claim. But look, I enjoyed it. Yeah, you can't like two teams. You can't like jump in between.
No. I agree.
So I picked one that I stuck to.
We're like here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
There you go.
But we're from LA.
Look, I hear you. This is a polarized position.
That's what I like how I like the Bulls, for example. Yeah. Being from
Chicago. Yeah, no, I get this trend. Yeah.
Also, but we stopped at the now we left.
You did? Yeah. Well, look, you know.
Like, we didn't become Golden State Warriors fans just because we were tall.
Because I like the Golden State Warriors because Steve Kerr used to be on
the
Chicago.
Yes, the Dream Team. Or whatever. That was the Olympics.
That was the Olympics.
But he was also on the Dream Team.
He was. I
Steve
believe
Kerr
him
was.
to be on.
Yes, he was. No, like the second Dream Team.
No.
No?
He was very much just a 3-point. He never dreamed that word.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Tony Kukoc, I guess I watched a lot of Bulls then.
Well, he was, I mean, he was really good on the second run of the ball. He would good as in he would come up and drill 3 points.
Yeah.
But, yeah,
No one could say that it was actually brave decision to like the Lakers growing up in Boston.
True.
One could say it was choosing the tough.
It would have been kind of.
I did. I went to the 2008 finals alone, and we were all Lakers.
Wow.
I mean, quite frankly, it would have been outrageous to have Steve Kerr over somebody. I mean,
There were some of them that were like,
yeah, because that was ridiculous already. He was already still angry.
Yeah.
He was snubbed. He did, right under when he was the coach.
Yeah.
Oh, with the Knicks, yeah. Yeah, he ended up like at the time.
Okay, hold on, I'm looking at numbers.
Maybe if he'd been everything was no.
He would have gotten the help he needed. Wow. That really was. Yes. 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 Probably.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, but I remember somebody in my class loved him. Yeah, Christian Lager was selected that's dumb.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah, I thought of some other things.
I'm disappointed you were not I'll try to
I think basically how I can see her again. I have to do this easier like the first very good. I'll take a picture of Davis with a sea creature. You can do it. Okay, send me
So what I keep looking for the legs, which is really 30 to 30.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, they're getting up early.
Yeah, they do.
I'm the opposite. I'm just like, I can't take this day anymore. I just leave all I know.
This guy, the guy, you know the movie The Silence of the Lambs?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I know. They were waiting.
Yeah. It was like a story. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I walked away. I made the decision. How did you know? That's the big mistake. Yeah, because you don't want to get that. Yeah, they but like I got home and yeah. Were like yeah, yeah. But she went on there or whatever. Like super city. That was up. Yeah, the key like shoe. Well, oh, it's when I was up, I was thinking of that. Somebody saying stuff. Year later, I didn't say. If you look at the Barclays,
What's number one? What's number one?
where they're talking about something. That's like when I like on the road. Yeah.
There are these number one best is the double cheeseburger from Steve's Burger.
I don't know anything about that burger.
Portable,
Jacobs.
I have never met her, but you know, she's in Miami right now. Who should they be?
No,
Is that daily news?
Yeah, she seems really good. It's amazing. I cover everything in her.
Oh, yeah.
But it sounded like we were on Lake.
You know what? That's so long.
I had,
I'm gonna go.
when I was in my house, I was watching TV.
Yes.
I only had a panel. And never saw any other. I made an extra clock.
How have you been? Yeah. Are you still up on the hill?
No, I'm actually.
You can. Yeah. No, but like the first movie broadcasting from our I agree. Curbside pickup.
He's on vacation.
Oh, geez. Yeah. My kids are well, I mean, almost 11. The 11-year-old had a lot of fun. Yeah. And we met in a year they're going to do everything.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Really? Yes. 2 minutes. Thank you.
Attention, the press briefing will begin in 2 minutes. The press briefing will begin in 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. She's gonna, yeah, she should like slow it down because Bree doesn't want it to be a distraction. I'm glad that just seeing my face caused the I go to. Yeah, I didn't tell you IT that you were present on the charge. She was
I did notice them yesterday. I don't think I've ever noticed them before. Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Come on, guys. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. All right. Okay. Give the girl some love here. All right. So I wanted to start with some news at the top. Earlier today, President Biden vetoed SJ Resolution 11, the most recent attempt by congressional Republicans to pollute the air our children breathe. Just think about it. While millions of Americans were taking shelter to escape unhealthy wildfire smoke made worse by climate change, congressional Republicans were pushing a bill to repeal the president's efforts to make our air cleaner and safer. Their Environmental Protection Agency put forward sensible standards to limit the pollution our trucks and buses emit into the air we breathe. The standards will prevent nearly 3,000 premature deaths, more than 6,700 hospital and emergency room visits, and more than 18,000 cases of asthma attacks. They'll also deliver up to tens of billions of dollars in annual public health benefits over the next 2 decades. So look, we just saw this month how disruptive climate change can be to our lives, our communities, and our economy. Schools were closed, outdoor events were canceled, flights were grounded, masks were back on, and many people had to remain indoors. That's what we saw very recently that you all reported on. So this is not the future we want for ourselves or our kids. President Biden won't let congressional Republicans take us backwards in our fight for cleaner air. He vetoed this health-harming bill today, as I just mentioned. He just defended, as you all know, during the budget negotiations, the biggest climate protection bill in history, his Inflation Reduction Act, from congressional Republicans who were intent on repealing it. And he's going to keep protecting and strengthening his Investing in America agenda, which is bringing clean energy jobs and manufacturing back to America. So another piece of good news, I know he's been on some of your airwaves already. Last night, the Senate confirmed Jared Bernstein as chair of the Council of Economic Advisors. Our economy continues to show progress, tackling inflation, while unemployment remains at historic lows. While there is still more work to do, which we acknowledge, but jobs are up, wages are up, and inflation is down. And Jared is someone who uniquely understands that. As the president often says, a job is about more than a paycheck. It's about dignity. It's about dignity of work, which is something that the president has been consistent on saying. So we look forward to Jared's continued leadership as we build an economy that works for working people. Along those lines, today we learned annual producer inflation is below pre-pandemic levels at 1.1%. In fact, producer prices actually fell last month, led by falling energy and food prices as well. This is on top of yesterday's news, as we all discussed in this briefing room yesterday. The consumer inflation has fallen by more than half over the last 11 months. And as I mentioned as well yesterday, wages rose over the last year, and that is accounting for inflation. This is all evidence that the president's economic plan is working to lower costs for families, invest in America, and grow the economy from the middle out and the bottom up, not the top down, not the trickle-down economy that we see from Republicans in Congress. And finally, last thing for all of you, tomorrow the President and the First Lady will host a screening of Flamin' Hot. Guests for the evening will include Eva Longoria, who directed the film, the cast families, Latino leaders, and members of the community, and a special performance by Marachi Vargas. The Biden-Harris administration continues its effort to lift up and engage the Latino community by showcasing their stories and celebrating their contributions to our country. With that, Colleen, I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. I'm hanging in there.
Good.
Okay, what you got?
Okay, so President Erdogan today indicated that NATO should not bet on Turkey approving Sweden's application before the summit. And then the Post was reporting that Senator Reich halted a U.S. arms sale to Hungary as punishment over its refusal to approve Sweden's application. So I wonder, is there concern over it being delayed ahead of the summit?
Yep. So look, I mean, we have been very consistent here. We encourage Turkey to approve Sweden's application for NATO membership, and we have said that and been really clear, and they should do this without delay. I mentioned this yesterday. I'll reiterate it here. Sweden has fulfilled its commitment they made under the trilateral memorandum of agreement agreed with Finland and Turkey on the margins of the NATO summit that happened just last year in Madrid. As you all know, Sweden is we believe, a strong, capable defense partner that shares NATO's values and will strengthen the alliance that NATO currently has, and also contribute to European security. So again, we believe Sweden should become a NATO member as soon as possible without delay, and will continue to be very public about that, as the President has been for the past several months, and continue to be very clear.
Do you think there's a possibility it won't get sorted out before the summit? I think the administration had sort of hoped it would be figured out by then.
So look, we are still hopeful that this will get done. I don't have a timeline, certainly. The sooner the better, as I said, without delay. And so we'll continue to be very clear. We'll continue to communicate that with Turkey, but I just don't have a timeline to share.
Okay, one other question. So former President Donald Trump, I think yesterday, or yesterday maybe, said that if he were reelected, he would appoint a special prosecutor to go after Biden. I wondered if there was concern about this kind of rhetoric, especially considering sort of what we saw from on January 6th after a lot of sort of inflammatory rhetoric by Trump.
So look, just a couple of things there. As you know, President Trump is a candidate, so I want to be very careful, because right now he's speaking as a candidate, right? So we just don't want to comment on 2024. What we will focus on, what the President will continue to focus on, is delivering for the American people. I just laid out the PPI numbers and what that means for our economy, what that means for the President's economic policy, and how we believe his plans and his policy has continued to work the last 2 years. And we've created historic number of jobs as President in the last 2 years than any other president. 13 million, unemployment is at under 4%. These are all really important, and that's what the President's going to focus on. He's been very clear when he ran in 2020. It was about bringing the nation together, right? The soul of the country. That's something that's still a priority for this President. He's had multiple remarks on that particular issue. We know for a fact, right, this is something that Americans care about. We saw that in the midterm election. So the President's going to continue to be steadfast. He's going to continue to focus on what the American people want to see and want us to deliver on, and we're just going to stay steady.
Secretary Blinken is heading to China later this week. When his initial trip was canceled, you all said he would go when the time is right. So why now? Why is this now the right time?
So a couple of things. I know my colleagues at NSC and State did a 8 a.m. On the record call at 8 a.m. So certainly would refer you to, and they spoke to Blinken's trip. So certainly would refer you to that. And my colleague, if it hasn't happened already, at the State Department, Matt Miller was supposed to give a briefing, and I'm sure he got a lot of back and forth on this particular trip. I'll say a couple of things about this. The administration has strengthened America's ability to out-compete China for the next decade and beyond, and we've done that, as I was just iterating, by building an economy that works for all and doesn't leave anybody behind. And you see this. You see the investments that we're seeing in America, especially with manufacturing, and you see this with 800,000 manufacturing jobs, all incredibly important. So China will continue to be around and a major player on the world stage as we are putting ourselves on that stronger footing to compete. They have and will continue to take provocative steps. We understand that. And you've heard the President say it's important to have that diplomacy with world leaders. It's important to have that discussion. So we believe intense competition requires intense diplomacy, and that's what you're seeing from the State Department. Lastly, it is responsible way, we believe, to manage tensions, clear up misperceptions and miscalculations even, and it is in our interest to try and figure out a way to work together. And this is what you're seeing. This is what you're going to see from Secretary Blinken's trip when he heads out on Saturday.
You note that the President, feels it's important to have this kind of in-person diplomacy. What exactly is the President hoping that the Secretary will be able to accomplish? And is it the President's hope that these meetings pave the way for an in-person meeting between the President and President Xi?
So I can't speak to an in-person meeting with President Xi right now, with our President. What I can say is there are a couple objectives that we are hoping, and this is something that the State Department said. So I certainly would refer you to them. But the three main objectives for the visit is, one, to establish communication channels to help manage competition so it does not veer into conflict, which is something that we have said, keeping those lines of communication open. open. Two, to stand up and speak for American values. That's something that the president leads with, and also interest. And the last and third thing is it is in our interest that we believe to explore potential cooperation and transnational challenges. And so those are the three objectives that came directly from the State Department. I would refer you to the State Department on anything more specifics about the trip.
I know you don't have any kind of future meeting to announce, but do you view this as laying the groundwork for a potential?
Well, we view this as an important part of our diplomacy and our conversation that we believe that we need to have with China. As we have said, they're going to be a major player for a long time. We believe that we are in a right footing, especially of the work that the president has done the last 2 years. When you look at the economy, when you look at the competition, you look at what we have been able to do, and so we want to continue to have those open line of conversation. And this is about diplomacy, which is why the Secretary of State is heading to China on Saturday.
Thanks, Karine. Does the White House have a reaction to the Federal Reserve's decision to pause interest rate hikes?
As you know, as you know, we do not comment on the Fed's actions. They are independent. We respect the independence of the Fed, and we do not interfere in any way in their policies. The president has made it very clear that he wanted to give the Fed the space so that they can make these monetary decisions and make these monetary policy, obviously. And as I laid out at the top, and I actually talked about this as well with the CPI data yesterday, we believe that the president's plan, the economic plan, is working. When you look at the last 11 months and you see inflation has gone down by more than 50%, when you see that the wages rose over this past year, when you include inflation as well, and 13 million jobs, I just mentioned the 800,000 jobs, manufacturing jobs, which is incredibly important for American families. So these are the things that the president's going to focus on. How do we continue to create an economy that works for all? But I'm just not going to comment on the Fed's response.
One question on China as well. Is the White House aware of Bill Gates' trip to China and his planned meeting with Xi Jinping? And has the White House advised him about it at all, or requested a readout after his meeting?
So I don't know if Bill Gates has reached out to us, or if we have reached out to him. I don't have any information or intel to give about any conversation with Bill, but certainly I'm sure he can speak for himself about his trip to China.
Thanks, Karine. I wanted to give you an opportunity to perhaps correct the record, or at least respond to something former President Trump said last night. Last night he called his arrest, quote, the most evil and heinous abuse of power in the history of our country, and he accused the current president of having him arrested, effectively directing his arrest. Your response?
I'm not going to comment to that.
Okay. Wanted to ask you about Senator Tuberville, who is currently holding up the promotions of about 250 senior officers. He has reportedly rejected the most recent offer by some of his Republican colleagues to address this issue as part of the annual defense authorization bill, and he is maintaining that he wants a vote on the Senate floor to reverse this Pentagon policy that pays travel costs for service members seeking abortion or other reproductive health care. So Senator Tuberville says that he hasn't heard from the White House at all on this issue. I'm wondering why not. And what's the White House's view on what the path forward is here? Should the Senate begin holding individual votes on senior military promotions to start advancing some of this?
So a couple things at the top, which is, I think, incredibly important. What the senator is doing by holding these nominations, it's a threat to our national security, period. That's what he's doing. These are important nominations that we need, that the American people need to keep our country safe. And so and not only that, they risk our military readiness by depriving our armed forces of leadership and hurt our military families. That's what he's doing by holding these DOD nominees. All our military nominees that Senator Tuberville is blocking need to be confirmed quickly, and we have been consistent about that. This is something that has come up in the briefing room multiple times at this point. Senators should not play politics. They should not play politics with our military assistance, with our military readiness, and with our military family. And so, look, I'm not going to get into the specifics of what what the mechanics should be in getting this done. We've been very clear that it needs to happen, and I just don't have anything else to share about a conversation with the senator.
Well, why hasn't the White House spoken with him, and what does the White House see as the path forward here? I mean, you guys have said it's a matter of national security. I presume that means it's a top priority.
I mean, first of all, it's shameful that he's doing this, right? I mean, he needs to be asked the question is, why is he putting our national security at risk? That is something for a senator to be able to answer to. We're trying to do the right thing by moving forward and protecting our military readiness and protecting our military families. And so, look, I can't speak to conversations. I have to talk to our Office of Leg Affairs. I do not know when the last time that they spoke to the senator. But what I do know is what he's doing is putting our national security at risk, truly.
And then very quickly on something that was brought up earlier, Senator Risch and his blocking of a $735 million arms package to Hungary in order to get them to approve Sweden into NATO. Did the White House coordinate at all with Senator Risch? Do you guys agree with that strategy? And do you believe that he should maintain that hold until Hungary approves?
No, I heard the question from Colleen. I don't have anything to add or anything to elaborate on that. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, thanks, Karine. For months, the White House has declined to discuss a possible Plan B if the president's student loan debt forgiveness program is overturned by the Supreme Court. Now, with the SCOTUS decision expected this month, perhaps in a matter of days, several constituencies are urging Biden to be ready to act. The NAACP, in a letter today to Biden, wrote, should the Supreme Court fail to uphold student debt relief, Black America demands that your administration pursue all legal pathways to make a permanent solution on student loan debt. Is the White House prepared to transition to an alternative method for student loan forgiveness if the president's plan is rejected in court?
So look, we continue to be confident in our legal, kind of a legal pathway here. So I'm going to leave it to the Department of Justice to continue protecting a plan that the president believes is incredibly important for American families. And I want to also be clear that the president recognizes the burden student debt has on tens of millions of Black Americans. That is something that he gets. That is something that he certainly has talked about, and which is why he secured the largest increase to Pell Grants in decades. It's something that he did very early on in his administration, and that is why he vetoed the most recent attempt by congressional Republicans to block his student debt. That was remember, that was part of a major piece of contention during the budget negotiations, and the president protected that. And so he is. He is certainly understand how important his plan is, which is why he put it forth, which is why he understands that how much that means to everyday families, working people who makes less than $75,000. Remember, 90% of that plan is going to help those very people. So we believe in our legal pathway here, and so I'm certainly not going to get ahead of the Department of Justice.
So as for whether there is a Plan B, if it is struck down, you still can't say whether there.
I'm just saying that we're going to focus on the fight that's in front of us right now.
Local outlets in Connecticut are reporting that the president will attend a National Gun Safety Summit later this week. There seems to be little momentum in Congress for any sort of new bill that we saw recently. Right now, is the White House purely in an implementation sort of phase when it comes to gun control? Or is there anything else the White House can do in the meantime besides just calling on Congress for additional action for gun control?
I mean, Zolan, I appreciate the question, but let's not forget what this president has done that has been historic when it comes to dealing with gun violence. Let's not forget that more than 24 pieces of executive actions that he's taken because Congress has not acted in the way that we fully believe that they can. We appreciated the bipartisan bill that was passed almost a year ago. It's going to be on, I believe, on Friday. Will be a year ago that the president signed that into law. That's great, and it was 30 years in the making, really, right? It took 30 years before we got there. But there's more that needs to happen. There's more that needs to happen to keep our community safe. And so, to your question, look, he's going to use the bully pulpit. He's going to go to Connecticut. He's going to continue to talk about the importance of Congress moving forward. But also, states have taken action. Let's not forget. Connecticut has taken actions, and there's been multiple states have actually done the work to ban assault weapons, do red flags, and do other things that are incredibly important that's going to protect communities. And so we're going to lift that up as well. Now, what we're asking for, obviously, is for the federal government to take additional actions. But let's not forget what states have been able to do over just the last several months on protecting their community.
What we're asking is for the federal government to take additional actions.
That's exactly right.
But can any of those actions at this point, while noting the legislation that was passed already and the implementation ongoing of that package, can any of those additional federal actions at this point be done solely through executive action?
So look, I mean, the president's always going to look for ways to take additional actions, obviously, right? When you do more than 24 executive actions, clearly we're always going to figure out what else we can do to protect communities. So that is something that certainly our team is going to look at. But let's not forget that states have been able to take action, which is really important too, and that's been just over the past several months. And so, look, we're going to continue to ask Congress to act. I've been asked what other priorities that this president has as it relates to legislation. That's one of them. We just got to continue to build on what he was able to sign last year. Anything additional, I just don't have anything to share at this point. Okay, Tyler.
Thanks, Shereen. Last night, Fox News ran a chyron that referred to the president as a wannabe dictator, and I'm wondering if the White House has any comment on that.
So look, there are probably about 787 million things that I can say about this that was wrong about what we saw last night, but I don't think I'm going to get into it.
There's no comment the White House has on
I think I just commented.
Thank you, Karine. Without talking about the decision today by the Fed, obviously the hikes impact the U.S. economy. So can you talk about the delayed effects of previous hikes and when you think you'll be able to have a very clear picture of how the economy and inflation are doing?
So I'm just not going to get into economic forecasting from here. What I will say, and this is something that the president has said himself, we believe that recent data is more proof that that his economic plan is working. When you think about PPI, you think about CPI, you think about the jobs numbers. We believe that what he is doing is creating jobs and also helping to lower costs, and that is the most important thing that we think the Americans want us to see. And so, look, fighting prices certainly continues to be a main priority for Americans, and also certainly a top priority for us. And so we're going to continue to do that, to do everything that we can to lower costs. But we are encouraged by the data. I'm just not going to get into forecasting any type of data points on the economy. I'm going to leave that to the experts.
Okay. And then on Saturday, President Biden is scheduled to go to Philadelphia. So I wonder, since he's going to be there, does he plan to survey the I-95 collapse?
I don't have anything to report at this time or to share about a change in his schedule. Thank you. Okay.
Karine, this White House is recognizing Juneteenth, which is Monday. And with that said, the issue of reparations continues to be something that is being parsed out on the other side of Pennsylvania Avenue. And with that said, the late John Conyers started with, a study. Now you have Congresswoman Bush not just asking for a study, but she's creating a resolution to push forward on reparations. What does this White House believe when it comes to this controversial issue of repairing a wrong for the descendants of Africans in this nation?
So look, as you mentioned, Juneteenth, there was a concert here yesterday, and we saw how powerful and how moved the president was by the concert and by kind of the story that was laid out through the concert about Juneteenth and how important that moment was. Opal, as you know, was here, and it's always moving to hear her and to see her. And as you know, the president signed Juneteenth to be the most recent holiday about 2 years ago. So I think that shows from that action. I'll give you more. I think that shows from that action how important the president thinks this moment is, how important he thinks that it is important to continue to lift up the African American community, and he'll continue to do so. As it relates to reparations, I saw just moments ago Cori Bush's resolution. We haven't reviewed the proposal yet. It's a new proposal, so we'll take a look at it. So I can't comment on that specifically. But the president has been really clear as it relates to reparation. He wants to see a study of reparations and studying the continuing impacts of slavery. He believes that is incredibly important.
The study, if the study concludes what many thought leaders and civil rights leaders have said, what next? Does the president support a payout? Because the nation is divided on this. This has been one of the biggest issues over the decades about how to repair the enslavement over generations of Africans brought to this country for free labor. So what does the president do after? What will he lean in on after a study, which is expected to basically say what many of the civil rights and black thought leaders have said? Does the president believe in a financial repair for the descendants of Africans in this nation?
So look, I will say this: we got to let the study move forward. We got to see what the study shows, and we got to continue to study the impact of slavery. That is something that the president believes that we need to do. So that's incredibly important. But I will say, April, and you know this, you've covered this since we've walked into this administration. When we think about the crises that we see in our country, the president called out how race inequality is a problem, right? Is a crisis for us in this moment, which is why he is taking comprehensive action. When you think about what he did on the first couple of days that he walked in, signing an executive order to make sure at the federal level that we put equity at the center of this. And it is important that we continue to do this. How do we deal with the inequalities that we see in this country? And he's trying to do that on the federal level. So let's see what the study shows. It is important to continue to study the continuing impacts, if you will, on slavery. And I think because of the president's action, he's been very clear. He's been very clear how important it is, even just looking at his economic policy, how important it is to leave no one behind, have equity at the center of everything that he's done. If you look at every piece of historic piece of legislation that has passed, that he has signed, it has equity at the center of that. And that's because the president has that in mind, right, to make sure that we have equality, to make sure that we leave no one behind. I'll keep going.
Thank you, Corinne. Why did the White House not inform us of the President of Uruguay's visit yesterday? It wasn't on the schedule. I presume that these bilateral meetings are planned in advance. So when did you decide that the meeting was going to happen?
So look, it was a drop-by. That's what it was with the president. And I would have to get back to talk to the National Security Council to talk through how the meeting actually happened and landed. I don't have that information for you, but we believe it was important for this drop-by to happen. Clearly, I just talked about how the president sees diplomacy, having those in-person conversation, how critical they are, and that's what you saw yesterday. I can't speak to the process on landing this meeting.
Give us a sense of how long the meeting was?
I'll give you a little bit of how we saw this meeting went. I don't have a timeline for you, or a timestamp, if you will, on the meeting. So during their meeting, President Biden lauded Uruguay as a regional and global model for democratic governance and congratulated him for receiving the Gold Insignia Award from the Council of the Americas. President Biden and the President of Uruguay also discussed their support for Ukraine, principled defense for fundamental freedoms in Venezuela, and commitment to ensure the Americas' partnership for economic prosperity accelerates regional integration, inclusive economic prosperity, and greater opportunity through sustainable trade and investment. So the two presidents also explored ways to expand our bilateral economic relationship, increase joint efforts to combat climate change, and further strengthen security operation, and that is what came out of this meeting.
Thank you for that. And just on the U.S.-Iran talks, I saw the exchange at the State Department briefing yesterday, and I'm still unclear, and I hope you can help me. Is the administration at this point talking to Iran, asking Tehran not to enrich uranium above 60%, in return for the release of some funds, some frozen funds, and possible prisoner exchange.
So look, I would have to refer you to the State Department. They had the readout. If it's unclear to you, I would just refer you back to them, and they can actually lay out exactly what those conversations were.
Broad principle. I know that you say that JCPOA is not the priority for the administration at this point. So what are these diplomatic channels that are going on?
So look, again, having open channels of conversation is important, and I'll just reiterate, our policy on Iran has not changed. We have been very clear about that. We remain focused on constraining Iran's destabilizing behavior through pressure, close coordination with our allies, and de-escalation in the region, obviously, right? And so that's including